I'm Thomas, a survivor of childhood eye cancer. This is Marlette, super producer Molly Molly. We're parents of a retinoblastoma survivor, and we're raising funds and awareness for World Eye Cancer Hope. I'm doing 100 push-ups per day. We're asking you to donate 1 penny per push-up. This is pennypushups.org. Penny Push-Ups 2015, Day 24.
My name is Dan Rossi.
Part 2. After multiple failed attempts to conceive using in vitro fertilization as a means of not passing on the RB gene to his child, let's say Mother Nature took over.
That resulted in a pregnancy, and we were terrified.
But further testing would show that Dan's little girl, Sophia, was RB free. When Sophia was about 16 months old,
March of 2011, we found that I had a mass in the sinuses, and we all knew what it was because it was in the field of radiation. It looked pretty bad. It devoured a good part of my skull base and was touching the covering around the brain.
Dan consulted with several physicians and surgeons. By the end of March, he was in surgery, during which it was thought that the mass was either a slow, malignant cancer or benign.
So they stopped the surgery. They removed the bulk of the tumor, but they didn't do any of the more extensive work that they thought they were going to do. A week later, the full pathology came back as leiomyosarcoma.
Leiomyosarcoma is a rare and aggressive cancer affecting the connective or supportive tissues of the body. This includes bone, cartilage, fat, muscle, and blood vessels. Meanwhile, the main thing on Dan's mind, his baby girl, Sophia.
When I was diagnosed, she was 16 months old and barely speaking, just speaking words. And at that time, all I wanted, and I told my doctors, I wanted to survive long enough to be able to talk to her. So I went back to surgery, and they did a pretty radical surgery, 15 hours, to remove everything they could get. They removed whatever skull base was left, a big patch of the dura mater, and they patched that with tissue from under my scalp. So there was a lot of work done.
Doctors thought all looked clear following the surgery.
Neurosurgeons were not confident about it, so they sent me for radiation, and I had radiation to the area just adjacent to my right internal carotid artery above my right eye.
Dan faced some additional challenges, including 2 additional emergency surgeries that included patching leaking cerebral spinal fluid, and even additional time in the hospital due to an infection. And then, in September,
I had my thyroid removed. We found that I had thyroid cancer during all the scans for everything else. And then after that, I went back to work. So we were just trying to get back to our lives.
Getting back to life after such an experience doesn't happen overnight.
I spent my first couple of years after my diagnosis just waiting for the other shoe to drop. And then I was just starting to get comfortable when the other shoe dropped. The first sign of trouble was in the very end of August of 2013.
The scan showed possible signs of a new mass in the same location as the original from 2011. Unsure of whether it was scar tissue or possibly an anomaly from the MRI, doctors weren't prepared to perform surgery. A few months later, Dan began having symptoms, plus additional pain in his ribs. In January 2014,
we did a PET scan, and we confirmed that the tumor had recurred at the right internal carotid artery, and I had metastases in my rib and sternum. The neurosurgeons did not want to do surgery. They said, you have systemic disease, you need to treat it systemically. And I said, I don't want to do chemo. It's not going to do anything. I don't believe it will do anything. And I would prefer to have surgery, but I couldn't pressure them into that. The surgery to remove it from my right internal carotid was going to be a pretty risky surgery anyway.
Come back tomorrow for more on Dan's battle.
pennypushups.org